Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of Calgary Real Estate and Lifestyle. Today, I have on the show. Very pleased to have a friend, Lida Frydrychova, on the show. Welcome to the show, Lida.
Thank you.
Hey, Lida, we met just before Christmas, early December, I think. Oh, no, it was after Christmas. I forget when. It was a beautiful, gorgeous day at Rogers Pass in British Columbia. We were backcountry skiing.
Correct. Yeah. It's a
We
very
met
nice
in the park. I think I forget how I got myself along on that trip, but probably I invited myself along to some mutual friends, and we met for the first time. And I was very impressed as this woman ahead of me was charging up, breaking trail, and not really allowing anyone else to do any work. Would that describe you?
That sounds right. That sounds like my problem.
We had some great skiing that day. Actually, in terms of ski days, like I tend to be, I want to say it was one of my favorite backcountry ski days ever.
Oh, yeah, it was a good snow and no tracks. So
Yeah.
I don't know if your listeners would appreciate that, because I think most of them don't backcountry ski, but if they don't, I recommend it.
Well, and that's kind of the purpose of this show, living in Calgary. We call it Real Estate and Lifestyle. And we met, and I was very, first off, like before I ever really met you, you're just like way ahead of me and on the ski track. And I like to share the podcast with people of, you live in Calgary, and that's how we met, and you enjoy all the things about Calgary, and access to our mountains, I think, is a big thing for you. So again, wanted to have you on the show, and excited to have you here. We have some similar interest in the mountains, that's for sure.
Yes.
Let me start out a real question, sort of a quick question. What most strikes you about living in Calgary?
Well, I think you just pretty much said it. The mountains are the best part. The only thing that would make Calgary better if they were closer to Calgary.
That's right, if they were like right next door. Oh, I should say, so I mean, you've been in Calgary for quite a long time, and you enjoy really the Canadian Rockies. You work at Suncor for a manager of the refined products accounting, and you're an accountant, I understand, and obviously spend a lot of your time in the mountains. We had some fun discussions around mountains and mountain travels and accessing our outdoors, which I'd like to kind of talk to a little bit about that, and sort of my experience with mountains and mountain travel, as versus yours. And I was also struck and impressed by your commitment to the community and the volunteer work that you do. I think these days, you do a lot of work with Lake Louise Hostel, which I'd like to talk a little bit about, and have done quite a bit of work with Alpine Club of Canada, and I think as well Canadian Mountaineering Scrambling Club, which is the club day we met on. So you, how long have you been in Calgary, and what brought you to Calgary?
I have been here for over 26 years. I arrived June 6, 1996, when I was 17, and my sister was here. So she invited me to come over when I finished high school, and I have been here ever since.
Wow. And where did you come from originally? I assume some mountainous European country.
From the Czech Republic, and mountainous would be an overstatement. It's more like hilly country, but beautiful hills.
Okay. And were you like up until you were 17 when you came here, kind of, I guess, for family, with your sister being here first? Was it what brought you here? Did you guys have childhood experiences in the outdoors? Were you outdoor people?
Yes, with my parents, I have always been, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, some icy hills, very different skiing experience, always biking and hiking. Yeah, my parents were always into the outdoors. Yeah, I was kind of the problem child. I walked too soon, I climbed everything, and it was kind of a difficult thing to keep me at home or inside.
I can imagine. And so you came in 96. You're you know, really quite young, maybe spending like quite a bit of time with your sister. Did you enter school kind of right away? Were you into university, or what was your thing, your
Yeah.
early years in Calgary?
So I didn't speak English, so I had to learn English. Then they did not recognize my high school courses, so I had to take some of those. Then I started University of Calgary. I did that, and then I did my CA, Chartered Accountant, and yeah, 10 years later, I was done.
So we're talking like 2006 now that you're finally done schooling?
Yeah, and then my undergrad was in finance. And so I decided finance wasn't quite the place to be, especially in Calgary. So I switched to accounting. So that took a few more courses, and yeah, eventually I finished my CA.
Now, so an accountant actually, and this is kind of some of the stuff that we talked about in the mountains. Lida, you were very, let's just jump way ahead to today. We had some short discussions and conversation around mountain travel. I think that you have hit at least, actually, you're pretty close to finishing the 11,000 footers of the Canadian Rockies. I think you might have like a 15 left, which means you've done somewhere around 40, maybe 35. Is that correct?
Yeah, I forget to count. I have over 40. Yeah, if I finish them, which is a slow progress when you have too many other interests and too many other mountains on your list, you know, if I finish them, it will be, yeah, it would be probably my understanding is the third woman to finish them. So we'll see. I will try.
And for our listeners, can you describe what that objective is? I'll say it. It's you know, completing I guess 58 of the 11,000 footers of the Canadian Rockies. What does that mean?
Yeah, so they're actually 54, the ones
Oh,
that
it's
are
54.
over 11,000 feet, but the new book includes the near 11,000ers.
Okay.
So all mountains in the Canadian Rockies over 11,000. Yeah.
Cool. And so what is maybe 3 or 4 that most Calgarians or Albertans might know the names of? What would you guess?
Probably most people would know Mount Robson being the highest one. So Mount Robson, a lot of people will know Mount Temple. That's like the first one many people will complete. You know, Mount Athabasca, you drive by it on the Icefields Parkway, it's another one, and there are many of them in that area. Mm-hmm. So yeah, many notable mountains people see as they drive through the Rockies.
Very cool. And then talk to the listeners about some of your current projects. You know, you obviously have a full-time career working, and but you're kind of a mountain athlete, or you are definitely a mountain athlete. And you know, you're just, I think you just returned from a rock climbing trip in Arizona, where you're kind of gearing up and preparing for some big objectives in the next, you know, coming months. Talk to us about that.
I have many activities, too many. I need a job that's less busy. Yeah, from, you know, rock climbing to sport climbing, trad climbing, alpine climbing, mountaineering, some high altitude mountaineering. And the winter is long here, so lots of backcountry skiing and cross country skiing, and ice climbing is, you know, one of the best places to live here if you like ice climbing. It's a dangerous sport, but we have a lot of ice around, you know, not too far from Calgary, including in the Ghost, which is always an adventure going into the Ghost Reservoir. So yeah, lots of activities to do here. I go abroad a lot, especially since I'm originally from Europe. I've spent a lot of time in the Alps, and it's one of the, you know, more recent objectives I did as soon as we were able to travel. So last year I went and climbed the Eiger, climbed a over 3 days, big traverse of the Eiger. It's called Eiger Integral. So that was a big one. Did a very big traverse, 6-day traverse over the Monte Rosa range called the Spaghetti Tour. And then, yeah, lots of previous trips to the Alps, climbed Matterhorn and Mont Blanc traverse, which was a 5-day traverse of Mont Blanc. And then, you know, other ones more closer here, Denali in 2017, the highest mountain in North America. Lots in South America. Alpamayo is very famous mountain, most beautiful mountain in the world, they say. It's located in Peru, close to 6,000 meters. And around here, one of the big ones, Mount Alberta, climbed that in 2021. Again, that's a mountain that's on the Icefields Parkway. Lots of people drive by it. So lots of mountains. It's you can keep going nonstop. And now transferring a little bit more to rock climbing, as I often do in the spring, going to do a big trip to Sardinia, which is an island off the coast of Italy. So need to be ready for that.
Wow. And that was in some of your preparation in Phoenix. I think it was Phoenix, was it recently? Was to, right, I guess, hone your rock climbing skills in Sardinia, for Sardinia. And is there some particular projects in Sardinia that you'd like to do, or is there anything like strong goals? And I know that you're climbing strong with a partner or another woman. Tell us a little bit about that partnership and maybe some of your goals that you have around that in the next coming months.
Yeah, I have looked up numerous routes. Sardinia is very heavily populated with climbs. There are 3,000 rock routes, so it's very difficult to choose what your objective is. But yeah, we'll find one. And yeah, I climb lots with my boyfriend Rob, but also with my friend Tammy, who is newer but learning very fast.
Very good. And so with all that interest in as I got older, let's sort of my curiousness and interest in this as I've become life for me was like very, very busy with young kids and all, and career and all that sort of thing. And then as I got like older, I started to figure out what I like to do in the mountains or in the outdoors. And at this point, and I start to understand my own limitations and my style, my personality around adventures and how I organize them or don't. And so that's what I was sort of really impressed by you, that maybe I'd like to dig into a little bit on that. And then get back into a little bit more about I think that all this lifestyle that we're talking about right now also relates to this whole podcast in real estate. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're in terms of all the activities you do? And just to sort of recap, there's traverses, there's peak bagging, mountaineering, there's like rock climbing, and there's ice climbing. These things are completely different things, all in the outdoors and involving some sort of terrain that goes up. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? It's kind of unusual, I think, that somebody does so much at such a high level. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
You have to be organized, and that's
organized.
Like my number one skill. Even my boss jokes about it, that I keep him organized, and before he has time to even show me a spreadsheet, I'm already in it and fixing it up. But yeah, so very organized. My job is very busy, depending what role I have, working, close to 50 hours a week. So need to be very organized. Spreadsheets keep one organized. I use those for all of my trips to make sure that, especially if you have a high altitude trip, you really need to make sure that your acclimatization goes well. So spreadsheet works great for trip planning. And making sure you get all the gear, because there is a lot of gear involved with mountaineering and climbing trips. So if you use your gear every weekend, you get better at it. So yeah, I use all the tools, Google, sharing Google documents. It's nice to have people who are kind of on the same plan. So Tammy, who I climb with a lot, she's also research guru. So lots of research in foreign countries. That's always difficult when it's in a different language. So Google Translator becomes your friend to make sure you don't get into trouble in the mountains.
Interesting. And yeah, that's kind of stuff I wanted to, I think like within the first few minutes that we met, as I finally caught up to, close to you, and I was trying to have some discussion around the things you were doing in the planning. And I was just blown away by, some of the things that you've accomplished. and I still dream of doing, but what I find about my own personality style is I'm not an organizer. And you and I talked a little bit about that in terms of, and then I mentioned that, I'm a willing participant. And then, I think that in some ways, and let's be honest here, you were kind of like, well, no, you have to like participate or organize. And you talked about the spreadsheets now. And then I think like, and I was surprised in my life, in my earlier days, I owned an adventure travel company. It was a sea kayaking company on the East Coast of Canada. And,
okay.
and so I had to be very organized because I guess, I was a professional guide in the sea kayaking. But I got out of that somewhat. And, more, I just enjoy doing my own trips. But the personality style, like, can you comment any on like obviously you're an analytical person by your chosen profession and very organized. I'm forced into my own profession to be somewhat organized, but it's not my natural talent. Can you talk to, you've had a whole life in the outdoors, as have I, but I think that you're a very organized and analytical person in your approach to trip planning, and I imagine decisions in the outdoors that keep you healthy and well and safe. Can you speak a little bit about that, as well as the typical kind of outdoor person? I would say that maybe even my personality style is maybe a little more typical. And then I want to relate that a little bit to all the volunteer work that you do. Is that
Okay,
too much?
I will try. That's a big question. Well, obviously it drives the people you do activities with, right? So, more people, some people like to just wing it, just let's see what happens. I'm not totally comfortable with that. That reduces your risk. I like to be a bit more prepared and make sure that who I go with and the objectives I do, that I am, not overestimating my abilities, because that would end up probably badly. And so reducing your risk is key. You learn over time. You kind of said that. But things can happen. This is mountains, so you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, Calgary is a great place to get into it slowly. It's not like when let's say I flew to Denali, there's people who have never been on a big mountain, and I can see the struggle going from Chicago to Denali, kind of. So yeah, we have a great environment around here. So, not far from my house. Well, I think I can cross country ski out of my front door at the moment. It's a lot of snow out there, but you can go, cross country skiing, hiking, mountain biking is great. I live on the west end of Calgary, which was my primary goal when I moved. It has to be west of the city. I need to be able to get to Kenmore within an hour, or Kananaskis, and I need to be able to bike from my house to downtown. So all of these things. And then West Brack, which has become, even more popular. West Brack Creek has great mountain biking where I go, twice a week, usually during the week. And then I can go rock climbing. Also not far from there is a big new rock climbing area has been developed recently. So that's about 45 minutes from my house.
Oh, nice.
So I can go in the evenings, and cross country skiing right in the city. Shaganapi and Confederation Park is by my house. I can go there in about 15 minutes. So
nice.
It's a great place to work it up is in Calgary.
Do in terms of the so that's getting back into like sort of real estate in Calgary. You've chosen your decisions to be in the west part of the city. Can you talk to us a little bit? I think we had a brief discussion about real estate in our city and the boom bust economy. You've been here for a long time. You've seen at least, well, I guess probably two major booms, one in 2006-07 and the other one in 2013-14. And along with those booms came bust. Can you talk to me a little bit about the boom bust cycle that you've experienced, and maybe how it affects, you and your friends or your family? Any thoughts on that boom bust economy? I mean, you're in the oil and gas sector too with Suncor. So just tell us a little bit about boom bust economy of our city.
Well, I don't enjoy it, that's for sure. It has a huge impact on people, and I have throughout my career, I have had usually anywhere between 5 and then 10 people reporting to me, and when the bust comes, it's not usually fun downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting part is, with the younger people that have been through many reorgs, which is like the favorite, whatever you call it, every company has a new name for the new reorg.
Mm-hmm.
But they are kind of more used to it, like people who are a bit older, they are definitely much more affected and stressed out about it. I would say the younger people, where they're not as tied to Calgary or have been through numerous restructurings and reorganizations, which often are not reorganized by the time we have the next reorg. So it's kind of endless reorgs.
Mm-hmm.
But they're more more okay with it. They just have been through centralization and decentralization so many times, and I would say a lot of people are kind of used to it, and you just never know. You just try your best at the time, and if you need to find a new job, usually you just wait another year and there will be one in Calgary. So
really interesting. And how about your own real estate experience? I mean, I think it kind of indicated it hasn't been wonderful always. Like me, I bought my own personal residence that I'm currently living in 2007, at the very peak of the market in July of 2007. Finally, I mean, it's been probably dropped at least, well, I don't know, at least 20, probably at least 30% from the high that I bought it in. And currently, I would guess that it's probably only about 20% higher than the price I paid for it, maybe even less actually, in 2007. And at the same time, I bought quite a few investment properties that like a long time ago, more than 15 years ago, one of which is still worth less than I paid for it. So not everyone has a completely successful story of real estate. And I think in our world, in our society, you hear a lot of people about all the success they had in their real estate and not much about the lack of success, but to me it's, and we've heard the saying, location, location, location. In my experience in Calgary, especially, it's more about timing, timing, timing.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on like that in terms of our life here in Calgary and our real estate choices and decisions?
Yeah, I have tried different forms of real estate investing. Never thought there was any success. I also knew that I cannot spend time doing fixer-uppers, like that's for sure. I can't even fix anything around my house because I honestly don't know what a lot of things in a Home Depot are even called. So trying to find things in Home Depot is not my success.
Good for you.
So yeah, I knew it always had to be, not actually owning property, but other forms of real estate investing haven't been great. Like you say, I agree with you. The timing is critical. But at least I realized that I don't want to own a big house with a lot of work. So I purchased a townhouse, and, not having family in Calgary, I don't have family here. Nobody's nearby. My sister is in Kelowna. So I wanted something that allows me to spend time outside in the mountains, not maintaining a house, which I had when I lived in Kensington for many years, 17 years. So I knew I don't want to mow grass on the weekends. So I bought a townhouse, and it's worked out great. My boyfriend moved in, and somehow he got addicted to this townhouse lifestyle as well. He does not want a house now.
Excellent. I jump in again. Your volunteer work currently quite a bit with Lake Louise Hostel as well as Alpine Club of Canada. Can you tell us about your work and why you do what you do?
Well, Alpine Club allowed me to find what's there to do in the mountains. So that's where I started. It's easy hikes and scrambles, and gradually just worked it up. Feels like worked it up a lot in the last few years. So yeah, that's where I started. I met a lot of my friends. So if you're looking to get into the mountains, Alpine Club is a great place to start. The Calgary Scrambling and Mountaineering Club is another one, slightly less formal, I would say. So a little bit, might feel less intimidating is what I hear. I am on the board of the Calgary section of the Alpine Club, and I started a very successful program called AMP. It's an Alpine mentorship program that allows people to gradually learn and become independent in the mountains. So it's like a mentorship program with a guide. So yeah, that has been very successful. Now I'm the vice chair, so step back from that program, but still involved heavily. Joined national section, so Calgary section is the local section that organizes trips and events, and there is an ACC National, which is the umbrella over all the sections. So with my background, I joined the finance committee, which gives you insights into the finances of the club. It has been interesting. This is a pretty new role for me, but obviously I know many people there that I have done outdoor activities with. And then and then also, as you mentioned, I'm on the board of the Lake Louise Hostel, which is an entity on its own. Also learning about hospitality business, which is in a national park, which is very different and specific to Canada.
Oh, that's very cool. That's cool. How long have you been involved with the Lake Louise Hostel? For some reason, I was a little bit surprised to learn that. And like, what brought you to that, that role? I guess probably you use the hostel a fair amount, or I assume you don't actually, but maybe you do. How come you had that?
Well, it's actually related to the Alpine Club. It's partly owned by Alpine Club, so
Right,
that's how it's related. So very, very, very similar. A lot of things there in the mountains around here are interrelated.
Very good. Awesome. And so, yeah, I guess, we in terms of our own time, your time and our listeners' time, maybe we should bring things to a close. Let me ask a couple more questions. Well, this might be a bit of a, let's throw this one out. A surprise question for you. If you had a billboard on your way out to the mountains, or maybe like leaving Calgary Highway 1 heading west, or maybe it's coming on the way back in, what would the billboard say?
Oh, have fun, I think.
Have fun. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe another question, another couple questions, or a question. First off, how, if you had an ask of the audience, do you have an ask of the audience? Maybe. And then along that lines, if people wanted to reach out to you, I will provide some links possibly to maybe some of the things we talked about, Alpine Club of Canada and Lake Louise and stuff, Hostel. How would people best reach out to you? And finally, tying all that in, other than the profession you've chosen, was there another profession that you might have chosen after all these years?
Okay, well, obviously something in the outdoors is what I would enjoy. I definitely would prefer a job that's less sitting and more moving. So yeah, that would be the goal one day. On the other hand, when I am very, very tired from a big climb, I'm kind of okay to roll around in this office chair.
That's great.
So yeah, I think it's not a bad balance. I like to be my brain goes kind of high speed, so having a job that's engaging is important for me. So it's kind of working well. Just at times it's a bit busy. Accountants, I think, are always busy people, and it goes through cycles. So you just have to know how to fit things in between when you're just a little bit less busy. And yeah, for people in Calgary, I would say enjoy the fact you're in Calgary. There are not many cities that have this opportunity. We recently relocated an office from the Greater Toronto area, and I've heard it now several times that that the Calgary weather is bad is a misnomer. So I spend a lot of time with Eastern Canada people, and they complain about the weather a lot. So and my relocated people, they say it's sunny here, come here.
That's great.
So yeah, it's the weather might seem cold, but if you do outdoor sports, I would say you will not be bothered by it that much. And then my friends in the Czech Republic who have not skied the entire winter, no snow this year in Europe, they're all very jealous of the pictures.
Right. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being a guest in our show. And I will include some links to some of the show notes. And I look forward to hopefully spending more time with you in the mountains, maybe in March. I think he has some objectives, some backcountry ski days. I might have to invite myself along.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I'll see you when it's sunny in Rogers Pass. I will be there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend, and we will keep in touch.
You too, Aaron. Have a good day.
Thanks so much.